guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Finally, balance changes. We are finally out of one of the worst metas of all time in Clash Royale, and there's some big changes coming. So today, as we like to do every single season here, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the news and my opinions on each of the changes, starting with probably the most controversial card in this meta, the Witch. So the Witch is getting a huge nerf. Removed all area damage from the Witch. Hit speed reduction from 1.4 seconds all the way to 1.7 seconds. Pretty dramatic. And also slower first skeleton spawn, taking it from 1 second all the way to 3.5 seconds for the first skeletons to be spawned. Mass has been increased by 100%, no longer pushed back by skeletons. Man, what a death blow to the Witch. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my opinions after I give the stats on all of these, or the changes on all of these cards. My opinion on the Witch is, holy good God. Wow, what a murder, what a massacre. Am I overreacting? Maybe. You know, I'm only a dumb YouTuber, but that sounds like they just killed the card to me. I mean, removed all area damage and reduce the hit speed dramatically. The first spawn of skeletons from 1 all the way to 3.5 seconds. Man, I think they went way too far. I mean, listen, you guys know this. I'm not changing my tune. Of course, I was calling for a Witch nerf, but in my opinion, well, we got one. We got a big nerf, so some of you guys will be very happy. Me personally, I've always preached moderation in these balance changes, and boy does it seem like they just hit her with, like, you know what, they were like, I am so sick of a Witch, we're just gonna kill her, you know. Like, maybe I'm overreacting. Hopefully I'm overreacting, because I'm never a fan of just killing cards that are too strong. I'm a big fan of just tweaking them down, and then if they need further tweaking, going ahead and doing that. So I think that, just in my opinion, I think the balancing job oftentimes gets a lot of flack in the community, and sometimes rightfully so. Sometimes, you know, people don't appreciate how difficult a job it is to balance this game with millions of players and ladder levels and tournament standard levels. This is a very tough job. I'm not saying I could do any better. I probably couldn't. I'd probably do worse. With that said, I do think that they overreact sometimes. You know, buffs oftentimes are too big, like the buff to the Witch, and then nerfs are sometimes too big, like this nerf to the Witch, in my opinion. What do you guys think of that Witch nerf? Man, to me, it's huge. Let's go on to the next one. Elixir Golem, minus 10% HP, and this affects all forms. The Elixir Golem, the Elixir Golem Mites, and the Elixir Blobs, the sentient blobs, all minus 10% HP. Now this nerf, I think, is spot on. I didn't want them to overdo it with the Elixir Golem nerf, and I think this is pretty solid. Only 10% HP reduction. I still think it will be a strong card and worth upgrading for you guys. So I'm 100% in agreement with the nerf to the Elixir Golem. I still think it's going to be strong because it's really about the damage that those blobs do, in my opinion. That's the real strength of the card. You know, added to the fact that it only costs 3 elixir. Okay, wall breakers. Oof. Minus 19% damage, area damage radius also reduced from 2 to 1.5 radius. They'll deploy, slightly further apart as well. That really only fixes a kind of small issue in true red, true blue. You don't have to really pay too much attention to that. It's more the area damage and the damage, minus 19% and minus half a tile. So man, I think that's a little bit too much of a nerf to wall breakers, but I'm less critical of this one than I am the Witch personally. I was actually a fan of the wall breakers. I remember I had Tag and Night Owl on. Night Owl liked the wall breakers just fine the way they were. Tag said they needed a nerf. I was kind of right in between those guys on this one, maybe a very small nerf. Didn't want them to go too far on wall breakers, and I fear this might be just a little bit too far, but we will see when we enter the arena next season. Next up is the Fisherman. The hook range reduced from 7 to 6 tiles. So the hook range reduction of 1 tile, about 15 or so percent. Hook charge time increased by 1/10 of a second. So 1 second to 1.1 seconds. Again here, Not a fan of this one. A lot of people will disagree with me on this one, but again, I stand by what I've said all season long, is where I'm actually happy with the power of the Fisherman. Again, I'm in the minority here, but I can't change my tune now, the day of the balance change announcement, right? I didn't want to see a nerf to the Fisherman. I really like the Fisherman a lot. I think a 3 Elixir Legendary card that adds a new element to the game, similar to the Miner, tends to be seen as overpowered because people aren't used to having a card like that with the dynamics it does. But at the same time, you know, the win rates were high, so I can see where the team was coming from here. But I personally did not want a nerf to the Fisherman, and he did receive one here. Executioner be an indirect buff to Lava Hound and Lava Loon, because right now he can just one-shot all of those pups with ease, really not even depending on where he is. As long as he's targeting one of them, he's pretty much going to get them all, so that will be a nice buff to Lava Loon players and Lava Hound players. At the same time, I do think that the Executioner was maybe a hair too strong, but again, you know, I hate to sound like a broken record here in this video, but I'm not a fan of all of those nerfs. I would rather just see the max range reduced by half a tile, or the axe radius minus 20%. Not all 3 of them, the hover time, the radius, and the range. Again, maybe going a little bit too far, but again, time will tell inside the arena. Then we have the only buff. The only buff of these entire balance changes is the Barbarian Barrel, damage plus 8%. So is that enough to kill Dart Goblin and Rascals? I think it may be. But truthfully, we don't have access to the dev build, so I wasn't able to playtest, and I didn't do the math because I'm a mediocre YouTuber at best. So, plus 8% to the Bar Barrel. I guess I'm a fan of this one. Log has pretty much replaced Bar Barrel, and it's really always kind of a jockeying of positions between the Bar Barrel and the Log. That's what happens when you have 2 cards that, you know, although they're not the same, they have sort of the same usages. So I think that's always going to be a tale of one of those cards being stronger than the other and more widely used. And then the last card to get a nerf is the Baby Dragon. Baby Dragon hit points minus 4.5%. So the Baby D finally, after having some of the highest win rates inside the entire game for a long time, finally does receive that nerf. I guess I'm okay with it. I'm a big fan of the Baby Dragon, and I think that the high use and win rates of the Baby Dragon somewhat have to do with the fact that it's the only air splash card inside the entire game. It would be interesting. I guess the Electro Dragons is not a splash card, but the Chain Lightning can kind of act that way. But still, the Baby Dragon is very unique. I think this is, if they were going to nerf the card, which I'm, you know, on the fence on, I guess, I think this is a good nerf because it's rather small. So guys, that's what I have for you guys in terms of the balance changes. Can't wait to hear from you guys. What do you think? Also, I will, in about an hour or 2 from now, check my community tab on my YouTube channel. Go to the homepage. Up there near the playlist, you'll see the community tab. You can enter into Subverse Pro, which I had earlier this week. Play for $1,000 against a pro player. And you can grade these balance changes like you're the teacher of Clash Royale, grading how good of a job they did on these balance changes. Feel free to drop me a comment as well. I'll read them all, especially inside the first hour. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out to Stats Royale and to Bren Chong, my YouTube partners. Check out their information as well. Thanks, and as always, take care, guys.